Hi there, Lisa Orana here from Dollhouse Designs, sharing a card featuring the So Very Grateful stamp kit from Unity Stamp Company. Today's card is full of simple techniques like how I created that smooth blended background and the fun cutaway effect around the image. We're going to start off with the background, which is created with Distress inks and this Distress micro glaze. I'm prepping my cardstock. It's just Nina Solar White 80-pound cardstock, and I'm taking the slightest amount of that micro glaze and just rubbing it over the surface of the paper. You just want a light layer. You don't want to glop that on. It just needs to be super thin. I was having trouble getting my inks to blend on this paper. And I think it's because they're starting to dry out. I need to purchase some re-inkers and really get my ink pads juicy again, mainly because these are my favorite colors and I use them over and over again. And I was getting frustrated and I couldn't figure out how to get a nice smooth blend on my paper. And I recently bought that micro glaze, so I thought, why not give it a try? It's mainly used to seal in products. So when you're done blending, you can add that micro glaze on top of your product to seal it, make it smudge proof and waterproof. But I thought in this case maybe I need to prep my paper a little bit so the ink has something to glide across, because I was just having trouble getting a nice blend. So I added that light layer and started blending in my inks like I've been doing here, starting with the lightest color at the top and then moving my way down to the darkest blue at the bottom, kind of creating an ombre effect. And it was amazing how this ink just glided across the paper. It blended in with that micro glaze and really created a nice smooth look, also kind of a different texture than I'm used to with the blending of the inks. So it was really interesting. And as you noticed, I did have to use a piece of paper to protect the inks from fingerprints because it was slippery and it would move around kind of like the way oxides do. So when I was happy with the blending, I just set it aside and let it dry a little bit. Not too long, just so I could get the rest of my supplies together and get my card going. So I die cut it with that scallop border, and now I'm just going to glue that down directly onto a piece of black cardstock. That'll be the front of my card. And then I also have my image here, and I'm going to pull my MISTI out. Of course, you don't have to use your MISTI, you can just use a stamp block. I just find it easier to position everything with my MISTI, and I can always do repeat stamping. So that's always a plus with this. If you don't have a MISTI, my next favorite option is the Stamp-A-Majig. Those are great. I used that for years, and it's a great alternative to the MISTI. So I have my image lined up here. I'm using the Gina K amalgam ink, which is waterproof or watercolor friendly and Copic friendly. So I didn't know if I was going to do anything with my image at this point, so I just grabbed that in case I wanted to do some coloring or watercoloring. So as you can see, I did have to repeat stamp a few times just to make sure I got all that image stamped crisply and covered evenly. Now I decided to do a cutaway effect. I'm just grabbing my T-ruler here and drawing a background line with my pencil, and then I'm just going to fussy cut all of this out following that pencil line, and then once I hit my image, just going and fussy cutting around. Some tips when you do fussy cut: probably the biggest thing that I learned is you need to learn how to move the paper and not the scissors. So you continuously cut with your scissors and then move the paper to create a nice smooth edge around the cutting of your image. And I always like to have a little bit of white. It just makes for a nice little border, and it's easier to cut, so you don't have to try and exactly cut the inked lines. So once I got around my image, I just finished off by cutting off the other side of that line and then used my eraser to get rid of all those pencil lines. Added some foam adhesive and glued that down to the bottom of my card. So it has this fun cutaway effect with that black and white image. I also stamped my sentiment in Versamark ink and then embossed it in white, and just popping that up in the top corner of my card with some foam adhesive. And I decided to go ahead and keep that image black and white. I didn't want to add any color, I just liked the way it popped against that beautiful blue background. Here I'm adding some Unity Cinderella sequins with some glossy accents. And then I changed my mind and decided to color in that heart with some Copic markers, just for a little bit of pop of pink. So here's the finished card with that amazingly smooth blended background, the popped up image with its interesting cutaway effect, plus some Unity sequins for just a little bling and sparkle. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you liked it. Plus, if you have any questions or a sweet comment, post below. Thanks for watching, you guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.